The Ministry of Health is continuing efforts at improving the island's response and capability in the management of infectious diseases at the ports. The Department of Environmental Health held a training session for new employees on the best practices in providing surveillance and detecting threats of infectious diseases like Ebola. Parker Ragunanan is the Senior Environmental Officer.
The health officer may also prohibit the embarkation in a ship of any person who has been infected.
A few years ago we had H1N1 and it was an important system to have. Today it's the threat of Ebola. Tomorrow we're not sure what new disease may come up. So our port health surveillance systems are really put in place to be able to, one, capture infectious diseases, to mitigate and prevent the threat to our population. And that is very, very important. So what are we doing is we are training our officers who we expect to be deployed at the ports. Presently, we are strengthening our port health surveillance capacity for St. Lucia. We have approximately 11 nurses at our ports at present, providing primarily surveillance for the aircrafts and passengers coming in at the airports. We also have officers at our seaports looking at the yachts and the cruise ships, but we want to extend services to new areas like the Viewport Seaport and to strengthening our surveillance at the Buckeye facility. So we've seen the need to strengthen our port health surveillance to deal with infectious diseases.
Mr. Ragunanan says in large measure, officers rely on declarations by passengers and information from the carriers, be it aircraft or vessels.
For example, there is what is called the Maritime Declaration of Health. That is an international document that every ship must provide, and that document would speak to the health of all the persons on board that vessel. For the aircraft, there is the Declaration of Health also. So any situation where you have persons on a ship or on an aircraft that are not well, this information gets to us in advance, so we would be aware while the flight is coming to St. Lucia. The pilot would make contact with our officers, and therefore we would have systems in place to be able to deal with a sick passenger or sick passengers. The same thing for ships. What we do for ships is we most times quarantine them on board the vessel, so they're not allowed to come off and to mingle with our local population. So we have systems in place in terms of looking at the medical records, the logs, and by law we are mandated to grant clearance for every vessel, whether it's an aircraft or a ship coming to St. Lucia, to give the health clearance. And that the term that is used in law is pratic, and we are required to grant pratic. We have instituted for St. Lucia a port health questionnaire where every person coming in has to fill out this form and to give us information as to their travel history and that kind of thing. We are working with the immigration department, especially for people coming out of West Africa who are to get visas to come into St. Lucia. And you know that we have also put in restrictions from certain areas, from persons coming from certain areas to coming here. So it's working as part of our overall network.
The department is also improving on its ability to protect the island from unwholesome foods, ensuring they do not leave the ports and end up at restaurants and retail shelves. Environmental health officers also examine vector management practices at the various ports and disposal of internationally generated waste. Stay with the CTV News. When we come back, members of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force receive a thumbs up from the top cop.